You expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
So let's talk about The Living Daylights. It's one of my personal favorites. It's actually my second favorite James Bond film of them all. Released in 1987, directed by John Glenn, written by Richard Maybaum and Michael J. Wilson. Timothy Dalton was the new James Bond. To be honest, in my personal circles, I don't know a lot of Dalton fans, but I am, big time. I'm a big fan of Dalton. I think he got a bad rap, unfairly, for many years. First of all, you can tell the man is a classically trained actor. What he's doing with his eyes, his face expressions, as you always say, a good actor transports emotions just through his eyes, doesn't need any dialogue, and I think that's exactly what Dalton does in this film. He also did a lot of his own stunts, which contributed to the action, contributed to the more realistic and down-to-earth tone of the film. And what's special about this film? It's, in my opinion, a perfect combination of down-to-earth, gritty spy thriller and exotic action. You got the gadgets, you got everything you want from a Bond film. It's not too serious. There's also lighthearted moments, but at the same time, it's a spy thriller. A down-to-earth spy thriller. It's inspired by older spy films and stories. There's a big reference to The Third Man, for example. So this is everything I want from a James Bond film. It's a perfect combination, and as I said, Dalton is the man to do it, because on one hand he got the more gritty and dark side of Bonds. There's something insane about his face, something grim, but at the same time he's able to transport the more human side of Bond and even the more soft side of Bond. And by combining those aspects of the character, he's very much Fleming. He's very close to the character in the original Ian Fleming James Bond novels. A big fan of the books, by the way. And he's close to what I imagine James being James Bond being in those novels. By combining those aspects, not only the funny side, he's also pretty serious. I think he does a great job. I think he was a really great James Bond. Being a more down-to-earth film, there's not some uber villain like Blofeld or someone. There's more a team of villains, because some uber villain like Blofeld wouldn't fit the mood of the film. As I said, it's a more down-to-earth film, so they're not used, a big villain like Blofeld. So the team of villains is great, I think by combining those three, it's perfect. Joe Don Baker, as this insane military guy, he's funny. I think he's a fun character. There's this amazing scene in the end, the fights with the cat and mouse with Bond at his lair. He's using his cannons to kill Bond. Very interesting scene. Loved this as a child. Still love it. I love how he got his face, build up on those statues at his place. He's an interesting villain. Then there's this slimy Koskov, such a slimy guy. This James, and really such a mean and slimy person. I think he's interesting in being so disgusting. And then there's Necros. Necros, one of the most intimidating, most dangerous henchmen in the series, along with Red Grant from Russia with Love. I think he's the most intimidating and the most scary henchman in the series. Got a very dangerous presence. There's this scene where he's storming the safe house dressed as a milkman, throwing exploding milk bottles, and a very violent fight scene with one of the security guys at the kitchen. You know, he's pressing the face of the guy on the hot stove, and it's pretty greatly choreographed. And yeah, I remember being a child, maybe 5 years old, watching the scene, and my grandma came into the room, and she was watching the scene with us, and she wasn't happy. You know, she was like, "Oh no, all this violence," and almost crying. You know? Those movies got so violent, and yeah, we'll always remember this. She wasn't happy with me watching those movies when about 5 years old. So this is a very dangerous guy, and you always think, you can't stop thinking about what happens when Bond confronts this man, because he's such a dangerous presence. You're waiting for this to happen, and when it happens, it's really great. So I think, you know, those three villains combined, it's pretty great. Mariam Diabo is the Bond girl in the film. Yeah, she's not my favorite, but she perfectly fits the mood of the film. Can't say much about her. She's fine. It's fine. can't say a lot about her. Yeah, the villains. I love John Barry's score, especially in this film. His music, I think it's along with his work for A View to a Kill, it's its finest work. Those two soundtracks, those two scores are his finest. I think it's again a perfect combination of old and new. Those synth beats and synth bass and 80s sound combined with the classical orchestral moments makes for a perfect 80s combination. I think I listened to this score the most in the series. Yeah, I love John Barry's score. You know, this film is also done in Vienna, and I guess most of you know Bratislava. Vienna also stood in for Bratislava in this film. So all the Bratislava scenes are also filmed in Vienna. And, you know, those scenes were filmed practically in my neighborhood. Vienna is my hometown. I still live in Vienna. And they filmed, you know, I know all of those places. The train Timothy Dalton takes in the film, that's a train I'm still riding this train almost every week, so it's very surreal to me. The film's the sniper scene with Koskov and Kara and the opera in the beginning. In the film, it's Bratislava. In reality, it was Vienna. I know this place, you know, it's practically in my neighborhood. So I love that. And you have to imagine, back in 87, we haven't even been part of the EU. So in Austria. So we were as far apart from big budgets, glamorous movies as you can be. You know, it was something very special that this happened in Vienna. Politicians were celebrating this. It was a special thing, still is a special thing. So there are also the scenes at the Giant Wheel in Vienna. In the movie, they're already in Vienna. And those are special. This is a special place. You know, The Third Man was also filmed there, and I've been there a few weeks ago, visited it because I'm thinking about doing a location tour for you, maybe showing you the places today. Those places haven't changed a lot over the years. Looks pretty much like it did back in the day, and it's a magical place because you can feel the movie history, and because it's a timeless place. If you're a Bond fan, you have to visit Vienna. I can tell you feel like you're in the movie because it looks so similar to back in the day. You have to go there, listen to the soundtrack, and it transports you right into the film. It's magic. So yeah, that's special. I love the other locations. Afghanistan is a nice contrast to Vienna. And yeah, so the locations, you know, it's exotic enough for a Bond film. It's a more down-to-earth film, but it's exotic enough in terms of location hopping. And, or whatever's the word for that. And you also got amazing action. The action scenes in the beginning, in the pre-title sequence, where Dalton is laying on the roof of the car, and you can tell he's doing some of those stunts himself. That's amazing action. Yeah, it's pretty grim at times, pretty dark, and I love that. And there's also, as I said, the light-hearted moments. There's a car chase. It's my favorite car chase in the whole series. I love it. I absolutely love this. It's my favorite car in the Bond series. The Vantage V8, Aston Martin Vantage V8 is my favorite. It looks beautiful. It looks pretty cool. I love the scene. I love when Bond is activating the rocket and he's saying to Kara, I got some few optional extras installed, and then blowing the whole thing to smithereens. I love this. And then they're using the cello case for their escape, and it's one of my favorite car chases and chase scenes in the whole series. That's amazing. And there's a plane fight with Necros. That's really special. I've a few weeks ago watched the special features on some of the old DVDs, and there's an interview with BJ Worth, the stuntman from the scene. And what you see is what you get is what you see. This is two people hanging outside of a plane. This is it. There's no CGI, nothing like that. BJ Worth did the stunt, and he was talking about almost smashing his head at the plane and getting thrown off multiple times. It's such a I always got sweaty palms watching this scene because it's such great action. And as I said, you're waiting for Necros and Bond confronting each other because of his dangerous presence. So I love that. I cannot say anything negative about this film. I was thinking about it, but nothing came to mind. It's I love Dalton. I love the mixture between more realistic, down to earth, and gritty spy stuff, and the more exotic locations and the more lighthearted moments. I love the villains. I love John Barry's music. I love John Glenn's direction. I love the visuals of the film. I think it's a perfect James Bond film. I really do. I highly recommend you to watch it again if you haven't seen it for a while. What else to say about this film? I think that's pretty much it. It's my second favorite since many years, and not only because of nostalgic reasons. If you want a more down-to-earth Bond, if you want, a good spy thriller with an interesting plot, by the way. Some say it's a little too complicated. I don't think so. But you also love, you also want your typical Bond elements. There's a new Moneypenny. Desmond Llewellyn is Q again. He's funny as always. There's a car chase. There's vodka martini and tuxedos and everything you want from a Bond film. But if you want some more realistic and more gritty and more spy stuff, then that's your film. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe or leave a comment. I would love that. Because I need to get this channel going. I'm not doing it for views and fans or whatever. I'm doing it for myself because I love those films. But still, would be great if I got some little attention and more people watching those videos. Thank you. Love the Bond community, and see you very soon.